Ready? Play.
Good morning, as it is here in Germany. Good evening, where David is. David, you have a smile on your face, but I imagine you weren't smiling a couple of hours ago.
No, but I mean it's been a good week, and today's match was a very tough match. His opponent is on a 15-match winning streak. He had won 17 sets in a row coming into this match, so Liam was the first one to take a set. And Liam put himself in a position to win the match, and didn't get over the line. I mean, especially in the third set, which I think you saw the match, the game where he had 5 break points. Yeah. I think the one lesson that he has to take away from that, which is how he broke him in the first set, which is he stood in and took the second serve earlier at 5-6 in the first set and broke him. And in those 5 break points, he just tried to make him play. And when someone's that confident, and certainly off the first break point when they go after it and take so much risk, I think it's kind of got to click that you need to be braver in that moment and take it a bit earlier. And he got a number of second serves there, and he didn't really punish them, and he got punished himself. On another day, the guy could have missed one of them, but he didn't. But I think the message I said to Liam afterwards is, a really good match. Given that the conditions were tricky because it was very windy and it was quite hard to play really, really good tennis. But at the same time, I think they both battled hard, and it was just a few key moments. I mean, the other big moment was when he broke back in the second set and was 30 love, and the guy put up the high bounce, the lob that Liam went back and bounced and missed the bounce smash.
Yeah.
And that would have been 40 love. I'm not, the chance of dropping serve from 40 love are pretty slim, especially when he had momentum there, and missing that overhead. And then, the next point, the guy clocked the winner. Suddenly 30 all under pressure. And after that, he did have a bit of bad luck. The guy had those 2 net cords.
Yeah.
At the same time, I'd say the damage was done on that overhead, which he went for a very small margin. And really, if he just swung it cross court, might not have won the point exactly on that overhead, but I think he would have been well in control of the point and probably would have won the point. So that it came down to that point for the second set. And then in the third set, that game with the 5 break points in a row where he was just a little bit passive.
Yeah.
And then sayonara. And the backhand pass that the guy hit to break him in the third was quite a shot.
Oh, indeed. In fact, there was quite a few passing shots, I thought, or at least attempts from Riedi that were sensational. By the way, not all on that side of the net as well. When Liam won the first set, and it was really a case of taking the first set was very different to the sets 2 and 3 in that he took his chance. Whereas Riedi had half a dozen or so break points, hadn't managed to break. Liam gets his first break point at 6-5 on Riedi's serve and took it. And by the way, the point that preceded it is the one that I wanted to mention, because Liam was being pushed all over the court. I think he had to chase down a shot, which he ended up passing Riedi on, and it was probably the point of the first set. And that set him up with set point, and suddenly Broady had won that first set. By the way, we mentioned this a couple of days ago. There was a couple of contentious moments in the first set. One, it seemed that went against Liam. One perhaps went for him. I didn't see the shots so clearly, but I know Liam was aggrieved midway through the first set. I think he may have been at 15-30. Was he something like that as well?
15-30. Yeah, the guy definitely missed to give him 15-40. So 3-2. and the guy was going a little bit. So I mean, it was a very, very, very big point to go 15-40. Yes. So Liam was, and I think that's what is very hard, and where maturity and mental strength really comes to play its part, because it's such a big point and such a huge opportunity. Even as a coach sitting on the sideline, you're saying, "Come on, Liam, go again." It's you have to keep going. Don't worry about it. Let it go. But even on the side of the court, it takes a little bit for you to even get rid of it out of your mind,
Yeah.
because it's such a huge point. Yeah, and certainly he did get one back in the game that he broke him. And yes, it was also, well, that was set point, wasn't it? Where he won the point, didn't he? Yes, it was set point.
Exactly. Yeah, that was set point, and that set Reedy off. Now, I didn't see either of them, but of course, the first one was an overrule.
They were both mistakes.
Okay, really? Okay.
That's
Well,
why
there we go then.
I love Hawkeye, because it's just so so impartial.
Yeah.
If they've calibrated wrong, they've calibrated wrong. End of story. It's the same for both players, which is very rare. But I think, in situations like this, big points like that for both players. But I'd say, because it was earlier in the match, that 15-40, if Liam breaks there, it's a very, very different match. If you're 4-2 up first set, if you do go on to win it a bit more comfortably, it's a whole different feeling. So, but at the same time, that's tennis, and Liam did get one back on set point. So,
Yeah. I mean, listen, the reason why I describe it as a tough loss, although I know you're extracting some of the positives, is just because of just how close it was, and 1 point either way, as can happen in tennis, can make all the difference, as it did in that first set in a way, because I know Reedy, I think in the first game of the match, I know Liam was at 15-40 and may have faced another break point in that game as well. But he managed to hang on there, and it was a case of hanging on at various points. And I think Reedy did come out of the blocks quite quickly in that sense.
Yeah.
But Liam took his chance. I think Reedy may have been knocked by that mentally as well, perhaps. I don't know if Liam sensed that at all at the beginning of the second set. But I also felt, though, when it was getting to the last couple of games, I mean, Liam, how many double faults were there from Liam? 6 or 7, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing that makes it very difficult serving against Reedy is, I mean, he goes after returns so much, and if he clocks it, it's really tough to play against. And I think the game he got broken, Reedy hit 2 just clean winner returns, and I think it puts pressure on the server to go for a bit more and to get a bit more length on the serve. So I'd say the double faults, whilst were slightly damaging, were also because of the quality of Reedy's play. And earlier in the third set, Liam sucked the first double fault out of Reedy, and then he missed the forehand line on break point, which it was there for the taking. And in the first set, when he broke, he made that forehand line and finished that point. So, serving against somebody who's going after returns is difficult, because if you drop the serve a bit short and they clock it, it's sayonara, points over.
I mean, actually, just having look at some of the stats here. I mean, a lot of those 11 break points for Liam came in fact, 10 of the 11 came in sets 2 and 3, and it felt like about 5 or 6 of them occurred at the beginning of the third set. I think it was the first game and maybe the third game, something like that, weren't they?
Yes. I think it was at it was one. 1-2 and 2-3.
Something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
And one stage
but
we had 5 in a row.
yeah, exactly. I think that may have been at 1-2, but either way, at the
Yeah,
beginning, towards the beginning of the
yeah.
third set, and
But I think the
yeah,
big stat you can see on all of this is the second serve percentage win, where Reedy's at 63% and Liam's at
that's
47%.
these. By the way, these stats are not the end of the match. I think it might have been like one game before the end, so they might be 1 or 2%
Right.
out, but they're
Yeah.
they're pretty close to it.
Yeah. But I mean, you can see that's Reedy was really doing better off the second serve percentages, substantially better. Whereas Liam on the first serve percentage wins was actually very good.
I saw the match point, and pretty much Reedy served it out pretty well, I think, to 15.
Yes.
Liam did seem a bit annoyed at that match point, but he held his frustration a bit. How was he after the match? How did he take the loss?
I mean, Liam's a pretty experienced campaigner now, and the first 45 minutes after a loss, I just leave him
Yeah, I noticed
to
that.
stretch out. Go on.
I noticed that I wasn't sure if that, because I was watching the camera for the next sort of 2 or 3 minutes before they closed it to see if there would be any exchange between the pair of you, and I didn't even see you come close at all. So I just wondered if you might sort of after. Do you do that for wins as well, or do you tend to more do that for losses?
For losses, wins he's always very jovial and obviously happy when he walks off the court, and that's a very easy situation to have. But I mean, the first 45 minutes, I mean, he's really just coming down from the match more than anything. But if you speak to him, then you're not going to get any sense. Really, it's going to be annoyance and the opportunities missed and all of that stuff, and it's not going to be that logical.
Mm-hmm.
And there's quite a lot of players like that. But usually, and then what will happen is he'll just start talking about going to Melbourne, when should we leave, stuff like that. So you get into all that basic stuff, which kind of takes his mind off of it. And then, like I did now, we went back to the hotel, and then I'll message him and say, either let's go get a coffee or let's go get something to eat. And that's when we have the chat about the match, because now he's showered and changed and come down and had time to digest and be rational. And so, and now he's very rational about the matches and takes. So if I'd said to him about being braver in that moment, like 15 minutes after the match, he would have none of it, and he'd be very annoyed, angry, because the truth in that moment is really going to hurt, and he's punishing himself enough at that point in time. So he's got to go through that cycle of kind of getting over the disappointment more than anything.
In all the time you've worked together, have you ever watched video footage of matches or points, particularly in matches that he's lost afterwards? I mean, have you ever gone through for example, just that game at the beginning of the third set? Have you, whether you did it today or not so important, but in general, have you done that, or do you tend to sort of try to avoid that?
It's funny you say that. For years, Liam would not watch himself.
Okay.
Could not get him to watch himself, and it was really most of last year. I was pushing him. I'd sit him down, but I'd see it just switch off when we sat and watched. Didn't really want to know, but I was getting him to just sit down a bit with me. And then after the US Open, I just said, this is, the margins are so small. This is something that is missing. You need to, I said, he always goes, I trust you, and if I feel it and I don't need to see it. I say, well, no, you need to see what I see.
Yeah.
And I said to him, you cannot say anything to me about your tennis unless you've watched video of it and can come to me with a rational argument as to why I'm maybe wrong, but not without video evidence. And since US Open, he's been watching a lot of himself, and it's now something that is part of the routine. So
Okay.
I don't always watch it with him, but I'll tell him, watch that game, and I know now that he will watch it, and so that he does see what I see.
Yeah, but as
And
you
it's
say,
been very
Reedy is on a roll, so there's no shame in that. But it was just a case of 1 or 2 points here or there, and it may have been different. Listen, what's the plan now? When are you going to Melbourne?
We're going tomorrow lunchtime, and he'll have a day off tomorrow, and then we start practice on Saturday again. I mean, he's played a lot of matches. I mean, the one good thing about this, which is the preparation for Melbourne, will be a little more relaxed and a little easier. And I think also, if having come from qualifying, if he had gone to semis or final, that's 7 matches in 7 days. That would take its toll. So the one upside is that it's he's gone 5 matches in 5 days, and that's still a lot, but he's got a greater recovery time. So there's a silver lining to having lost today in terms of preparation for Melbourne.
Yeah, I was thinking the same actually. I was just thinking that obviously I was actually watching some footage of Rafa actually, who's already in Melbourne because Spain are out of the United Cup. And initially I was thinking, but similarly for Liam, I was thinking initially that's a bit disappointing for Rafa that he's not going to get more match practice in Sydney. But then at least he's going to have 10 days now in Melbourne rather than 2 or 3 to get used to the courts there, etc. And there's always slight differences. And same for Liam. At least he's now in a way he's had an ideal amount of matches. Would you say in terms of preparation, getting to Melbourne?
Yes, absolutely. I'd say it's I would have signed for this before the tournament, 100%, because it's been competitive. He's played some really good stuff. I think what we've been working on the off season has been working really well. And I think I would say that both yesterday and today, he didn't play great. He played average, but his average level has gone up. It's better, and I think that bodes well for the whole year, because I would say that whilst he had a very good year in 22, I'd say the average level was not quite top 100 level. Whereas I'd say that he's shown now that the average level now is top 100 level. And I think that's going to be the difference for this year. Because this boy Riedi is going top 100 pretty quick.
Yeah, I saw a few people suggesting that on Twitter and so on and so forth. So he's obviously doing really well. And I guess both of them, Riedi will be in qualifiers too.
Yes.
And it's 3 matches from the tournament, basically.
Yes, 3 matches. Well, he did it last year, so we got to hope he can do it. Well, I know he can do it again, but I mean that's the hard thing about tennis. Every match is so dangerous because the margins are so small now. And I'd say that's the thing that's happened in tennis over the last 3 or 4 years is the difference between somebody who's 40 in the world and 200 has narrowed substantially, and therefore. It's a really it's getting tougher and tougher because the margins are so small.
Let's just finish on one quick thing. I saw you post a pic of Nick Kyrgios. What was he doing in Canberra?
Well, this is where he lives, so he's practicing.
Okay.
He's practicing here this week. So and him and Liam have known each other from juniors, so they get on pretty well. So he came out and warmed Liam up today. So.
Oh, did he? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, obviously, the reason I asked as well is I know he's obviously had an injury or so because I know he pulled out of the United Cup itself. But anyway, okay, listen, onwards and upwards, on to Melbourne. Fingers crossed things work out there, and he's got 3 matches to come, as well as obviously practice, as you said, a couple of days before. We'll be touching base again in the next day or two, I'm sure. Safe trip to Melbourne, and speak to you soon.
Brilliant. Good to see you again.
Take care, David.